Okay, we're here in part 2 of our video about quadratic trinomials and how to factorize them. So we've got two slightly more advanced examples, 5b squared plus 9b plus 4. So like in part 1 we said you take the number, the coefficient of, in this case, the b squared, and you multiply it by the constant, which is 4. Alright, and it's important to take note of the signs if they're positive or negative, and we get our answer 20. And then we basically write out the list of factor pairs of 20. And what we're trying to do is find a pair of factors that add up to 9. All right. So we have 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Okay. Now we can see there which ones add up to, and again, where does 9 come from? All right, where does 9 come from? The 9 is the coefficient of the middle term. Add to plus 9. All right, so this doesn't, that adds up to 21. This adds up to 12. This adds up to 9. Yes. Okay, so when you add them together, you get the number in the middle. So once we've found the correct factor pair, we rewrite our original expression, 5, and without the 9 being in the middle, we break that up now, and we write out the 5 and the 4. Now I'm putting them the other way around because obviously I know that I'm going to be grouping by grouping, factorizing by grouping in the next step, so I need to have the 5 and the 5 together and the 4 and the 4 together. Now it's not essential, but it just makes it a little bit easier and neater. So I've rewritten out the original expression. The only change I've made is I've taken the 9b and I've rewritten it out as 5b plus 4b, which, as we all know, still adds up to 9b. And then we do our factorizing by grouping. So we find the highest common factor of 5b squared and 5b is 5b. That leaves us with b plus 1. And then 4b and 4, the highest common factor is 4, which leaves us also with b plus 1. And if the terms inside the bracket don't match up to the one previous, then something has gone wrong. And again, we find the highest common factor of 5b times b plus 1 and 4 times b plus 1, which is b plus 1. And then that leaves us with 5b plus 4. So again, our final answer is 5b plus 4 times b plus 1. Okay. Second example, 3z squared minus 11z plus 6. So again, we start off by taking the coefficient of the squared term. In this case, it's 3. And we're going to multiply that by 6, and we get 18. All right. The next step is we find the factors, pair factors of 18. And again, we're constantly trying to think of which, as we go through them, do these two add up to minus 11. Now straight away we have a problem. We've got 18 and we have a negative number in the middle. So if I just go as 1 by 18, 2 by 9, 3 by 6, none of those will add up to minus 11. So I have to make sure that when we think about positive numbers, there's also the possibility that a positive number has been gotten by multiplying two negative numbers together. So we have to basically, and because it's minus 11, my two answers will have to be negative. There's no other way of getting a negative number in this particular case. All right. So minus 1 and minus 18. When we multiply those together, we get plus 18. Okay, because two negatives gives the positive. Minus 2 and minus 9. When we multiply those two together, it gives us plus 18. And then then we have minus 3 and minus 6. Okay. So as I said, these are the factor pairs of plus 18. When you multiply those two numbers together, it gives you plus 18. So it has passed that first test as such. The second test it needs to pass is when we add them together, do they give you minus 11? So we have minus 1 minus 18, that's minus 19, so no, it doesn't pass the test. Minus 2 minus 9, minus 11, yes. So once we've found it, we don't need to do any more. So we have found the pair of factors that passes both tests. They multiply to give us plus 18, minus 2 by minus 9 is plus 18, and also they add up to give you minus 11. So we take those two numbers And like we said before, we rewrite out the original expression, 3z squared minus 3z minus, sorry, wrong ones, minus 2z minus 9z plus 6. And you see that the minus 11z has just been replaced by minus 2z minus 9z. Once we have that all sorted, then we look to do factorizing by grouping. Now we can see in this instance here that the 2 and the 9, we need to have them the other way around, so we can just switch those around. Minus 9 minus 2. So we're factorizing these by grouping. So highest common factor is 3z, z minus 3. Highest common factor is minus 2. And again, we know this next thing must be z minus 3 if everything is going okay. So 3z times z minus 3 minus 2 times z minus 3. So our final answer is 3z minus 2 times z minus 3. Okay, so factorizing quadratic trinomials. This is the method that you should be using. So we'll just have a quick, so step 1, first multiplied by the last. So your coefficient of the x squared or the b squared, whatever, by the constant. Step 2, find factor pairs that add to middle term. Factor by grouping. Okay, and that will give you your answer. So first by last, so the coefficient of the x squared or the b squared by the constant. Then you go about when whatever that new number is, you find the factor pairs, all of them, and as you go through them, you're trying to find pairs that add up to the middle number, the middle term. So whether that's plus 9b or whether that's minus 11 or whatever it is, find the ones that add up. So it has to pass those two tests. When you have that done, you rewrite out your equation, and then you factorize by grouping.